Hey y'all, I'm Alex Berg and this is The Sit Down. And today's guest really needs no introduction, so I'll just give you three words. It's Joshua Jackson. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. I am thrilled that you are tickled by that intro.
I love that intro. That's great. That's in fact how I'm going to introduce myself now going forward. It's Joshua Jackson.
Do.
It's Joshua Jackson. It's Joshua Jackson.
Please do. Please do. Well, listen, I'm really excited to talk to you. But how are you doing with coping with social distancing? Have you been spending a lot of time at home?
I've been spending a lot of time at home. My wife is about to have our first child. So we were kind of social distancing anyway, just getting into the nesting phase. And the only real difficult part right now is figuring out how to interface with the medical community. Obviously, we have to, and we're just trying to take that one day by day to try to figure out what the best and healthiest way. But my wife is healthy, my baby is healthy, so we're doing okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a challenging time, I think, to have to be doing anything that requires interfacing with the medical community. I mean, how have you been kind of balancing your excitement with taking everything in stride related to the pandemic?
Well, I think, we, like everybody else, are just trying to figure this thing out on a kind of day-by-day basis. So, the only times we're really out of the house are to go get food or to take a walk around the block. I do have a brother who's on the front lines in New York, so that's also tough. I think about him a lot, being in a hospital all the time. And then, I'm not quite sure. I've never been a parent before, so I'm not quite sure how much of this is just like first baby anxiety and how much of it is pandemic anxiety. But it's just really, for us in this house, it's just the two of us leaning on each other to be open about, like, yeah, man, it's stressful. This is a lot to deal with.
Yeah, I absolutely hear you on all of that. My wife is actually a nurse at a hospital in New York City. So,
okay, but, my brother too. He's a doctor.
Oh wow!
In the ER.
Wow. So he's like really, really on the front lines of this thing.
Yeah.
Well, I so admire all of the medical professionals who are getting us through this thing, as well as everybody who's like working in a grocery store and still reporting in for all these essential services. I think that they're so amazing. But I do want to talk about your show. And doing my
You
research.
Don't want to talk about Marxism and social medicine?
Listen, we could keep going if that's what you want to talk about. But, it's interesting because this is also a time when I feel like everybody is at home catching up on all the shows that they have been streaming. And I noticed that you actually have been watching your show, Little Fires Everywhere. From a lot of the actors that I talk to, a lot of times they don't like watching themselves. Is it safe to say you're comfortable with watching yourself?
Actually not really. It is because I've had a chance to watch the episodes before they go live. It's an odd thing, or at least I won't speak for everybody else, but for myself, I mostly only see the mistakes.
Really?
Yeah, it's just really hard to watch yourself and not watch it with a critical eye of either things that you missed and should have caught, or things you thought you were doing but didn't quite do. So it's just really hard for me to separate myself out and just watch as an audience member. So in general, no, but in this time when we're all sitting alone, and I'm actually not alone when I'm watching them with my wife. So it's fun to like be an audience member with an audience member, like she is extremely vocal in her pleasure or displeasure when we're watching.
I feel like sometimes that can be helpful, but maybe sometimes you're like, I don't know if I want too much input about this.
The truth is like it breaks me out of the like actory thing. So I think for me it's good. For me, I like it.
Well, you've been getting a lot of feedback on Twitter. I'm not sure how aware you are, but last week I chatted with Celeste Ng and Liz Tigalar, and Liz joked that actually the best way to sell the show was through the promise of a particular scene of you in Tighty Whities. And I'm going to read some of the tweets about this. Emily Martin tweeted, "I didn't know that what I needed to survive this quarantine was Joshua Jackson walking around in his underwear, but here we are." And you all agreed with this. They said, "That might have been the hottest 10 seconds of TV I've ever seen. Joshua Jackson in tight underwear holding a MacBook Pro swoon. How do you feel about this thirst?
Who knew that after 30 years of being an actor, what was really missing from my career was a pair of tighty whities? Honestly, the intention of those tighty whities was to be ugly. The whole point was like, here's a middle-aged guy who's kind of given up wearing his old dad underwear. I had no idea that apparently old dad underwear are in, but Liz is lying. They actually made me change out of because we shot the two bedroom scenes in that pilot episode. Sorry, Liz, I'm busting you here, but in sequence. And when we shot the first one, when we went back to shoot the second one, they were like, the tighty whities, maybe it's a little much. Maybe we'll put you in boxers for the second one. And I didn't really understand what they were saying because I don't watch the dailies. But then when I watched it, when it was all cut together, I was like, oh yeah, that's a different show. But I got to say, not that I want to be the one who's objectified, but it's kind of nice to have the shoe on the other foot. I've done 10,000 of those scenes where no matter what situation in life the woman is in, she always seems to have like a nice match set of lingerie that she goes to bed in, which in my experience is not the case. And so I think it's probably, it's a good thing to have the shoe on the other foot, that it's like the boy who has to parade around in his underwear.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for that. And I have to say, one of the reasons that this show appealed to me was also because there are many women who are behind the camera as well, who've been hands-on with the series. I'm also talking about Reese Witherspoon and Kerry Washington. I mean, they seem like they would just be such a dream team to work with. Yeah,
true. I mean, they are amazing women. They're amazing mothers, which, became very important to me as I was sort of picking their brains for that parenting thing that's all new to me. And they also have put together, as they've become producers and kind of moguls in their own way, they've put together teams of very strong, very talented, and this is really a testament to both of them, very empowered women around them who are able to keep their machines running. I've never actually been on a calmer set than on Little Fires. And I think that really speaks volumes about both Kerry and Reese, because those are two very powerful women. They're both very successful women. There's every reason in the world, not because they're women, but just because of that level of success oftentimes brings out sort of negative qualities in people. There's every reason in the world for that to have been a very tense set, like who gets to be the boss. But they work together really, really well. And the people around them, the people who are part of their individual production companies melded really well. And I have to say, it was an informative experience. I've been doing this for a very long time. And I've been on a lot of sets, and I have never seen a machine run as smoothly as the machine ran of making Little Fires Everywhere.
I mean, that's really cool to hear, because there are a lot of characters in the show. There are also a lot of different storylines. So I imagine it could get quite complicated if it weren't running so smoothly. One of the things you mentioned is that they gave you some parenting advice. Do you remember anything that either Reese or Kerry told you about being a first-time parent?
Oh, well, I mean, in the beginning it was, yes. I mean, because I was really asking, in the very beginning, I was like, who do I go to as an OB? What are the things I need to know now? But also, as it got a little bit deeper into it, just like, how do you integrate your home life? I have always kept my personal life and my work life pretty separate. But I don't think I want to do that going forward, because I want to obviously have my child around when I'm at work, and just asking them, how they integrate those two things and how they create an environment inside of a set environment that's a healthy place for a kid to be, because it's often not. And just, they were very helpful. And also just, in the like, holy Moses, this is happening, just both being like, it's okay. This is normal. It's all right. Like, just breathe. You're going to be good.
I mean, sometimes that's all that you need to hear from people. Well, we are almost out of time, but I do want to ask you about one more thing before we go. Before the global pandemic, you were posting about the presidential race. Have you still been, it feels like in terms of the news coverage, it's taken a big backseat to everything else that's happening. What have you been thinking about it? Have you had any concerns, about how it might be overshadowed by everything else that's happening?
I don't know that it's going to be overshadowed. There's a lot of time between now and November. And if ever there was proof of elections have consequences, we're living with it right now. mean, if you hire incompetent people to do an important job, you're probably going to get bad results. And we're all living inside of the bad results right now. So I think that as this continues to be a global pandemic, and as the response, as hard as your wife is working and as hard as my brother's working, and as truly impressive it is to see how the people who are like keeping the machine of America running, watching that is just, it's truly amazing. I mean, we literally wouldn't be eating if people weren't willing to sacrifice their own health and well-being to get food to us every day. So I cannot tell you how impressed I am by the spirit of the American working people. But the leadership has sucked, and it continues to suck. And we have a president who gets up every day and has, I don't know, press conferences, rallies, whatever you would call these things, and directly lies to the American people, putting people at risk. And the current talking points seem to be like, yeah, it's okay, kill your grandmother and grandfather. We just need to get the stock market roaring again. And that's shocking. I'm just going to say from my anecdotal, single mother, like, she does not want to die, and I don't really want her to die on the eve of her grandchild coming into the world. So I think as we get back into a place where we start focusing on responsibility for this pandemic, I think politics is going to be very much a part of the conversation as we go forward. I am obviously a deeply political person, and it's never far from my mind. So in my opinion, I don't think politics has fallen off the radar. I just think it's been framed through a different lens. And watching the response, everything about this response is political. You cannot wish a pandemic away. It doesn't give a damn if you're rich or poor or president of the United States. I mean, we just found out today that one of the royals in England has it. This thing doesn't care, and magical thinking won't make it go away. And so if your math in your head is my 401k is more important than your life, there's something wrong with you. You're a monster of a human being. So I would choose to believe that most Americans are not monsters and will vote that way in November.
Well, I think that is such a powerful note to end this conversation on. Joshua, thank you so much for joining me.
No problem. See, we got it back, and now we can go to Marxism and social medicine.
There you go. There you go. Well, listen, Little Fires Everywhere is available on Hulu, so be sure to check it out there.